Hey, what's up guys? Kool-Aid here. Welcome to another weekly patch notes and news video. This week is going to be considerably shorter than last week. Last week we had the big ESF update as well as a bunch of other stuff. I do have some news that I'll cover after the patch notes and a little bit of channel oriented stuff that I'll leave at the end of the video. So let's jump right into it. The first thing is, it says we are aware of issues with members not getting the appropriate amount of certs, bonus certs. We are working on resolving the issue. We have logging for all the instances of lost certs, and we'll be performing a grant once the problem is resolved. So if you've been logging in every day to collect your certs on multiple characters like I do, then you've noticed that you're not getting your full amount of certs. For example, I'm supposed to get 48 certs every day, passive certs from having premium membership. Lately I've only been getting 12 certs, so I'm glad to hear that we will be getting all of the backlogged certs back once they fix this. Performance, they addressed an issue with particle effects that caused a performance decrease. Now the amp station stuff, it's kind of interesting. Zervan has now been updated to a Frere style amp station. So if you've been messing around at Frere at all lately, you will have noticed that it's a completely different amp station design. It's much more infantry oriented. I said I actually like it a lot, and I do. So now Zervan has been updated with that same style. And then Dahaka is actually a hybrid with elements from both the Frere layout and the stock amp station layout. So you can see they're kind of playing around with different layouts for amp stations. I actually really like the amp stations to begin with. They're one of my favorite fights. And I do really like Frere as well. So I'm curious to see what Dahaka is actually going to be like, since it's going to be a hybrid of both. Make sure you guys leave feedback and tell them which design you actually like, because that'll kind of help steer them in the right direction. We do have some balancing for this patch as well, and it's already going to balance out the Hornet and Coyote missiles. The outer blast radius on the Hornet missiles has been reduced from 5 to 4 meters. The inner blast radius has been reduced from 0.5 to 0.35, and the direct hit damage has been increased from 1500 to 1800. So just kind of tweaking the way those work a little bit. Coyote missiles have had their RPMs increased from 200 to 400, and projectile acceleration increased from 2 meters a second to 10 meters a second. So some pretty big changes there with the Hornet and Coyote missiles already, even though they've only been out for a week. Some bug fixes, and I decided in the bigger patches I'm not going to read through all the bug fixes anymore. A lot of them are really just kind of not important. I'll just kind of pick out the ones that are best, but since this is such a small patch and since there are only 4 bug fixes this week, I'm just going to read them all off for you guys. Ground air lock-on message no longer looks like a key prompt. Fixed collision issues with some rockets on Esamir. You should no longer be able to get stuck under the stairs at Scarred Mesa Skydock, and there are fixes to various minor collision and geometry issues. So that is it for this week's patch notes. Again, very small patch, especially compared to last week where they had all the ESF updates, and that looks like what it's going to be. They'll have a couple small ones, then they'll have a big one, a couple small ones, then a big one where they add a lot of content. So I do like this new format, that is for sure. So moving on to the news, I don't have a lot this week either, but Higby did tweet that the roadmap has been updated with our tentative schedule out to June. Make sure you check it out and give us some feedback. So I'm just going to pick a couple topics off of here. I'm not going out to June. I'm just going to read a couple topics from the January section. And I'll update you or keep you guys updated with this every month. But I will leave a direct link to the roadmap to the January section, and all of these topics do have a join discussion button linked right to them. So if you feel strongly about any of this stuff, make sure you click that and go over and make sure your opinion is heard. Leave as much feedback as you want. But first thing I want to talk about is the squad vehicle spawning. They've had some more kind of details out on this, so I'll just read you exactly what it says. In an effort to encourage squad cohesiveness and increase available spawn options, we are adding the ability to spawn in squad-owned transport vehicles. Initially, this will be limited to the Sunder and Galaxy in order to reinforce their transport roles, but we may eventually open this functionality up to other types of vehicles. Vehicle spawning will be limited to vehicles that are occupied and owned by a squad member and in more limited proximity to where you are spawning from. They will also have a slightly longer respawn timer than the standard base and AMS spawns. So that's cool. I like this idea. I'm a little curious to what other type of vehicles. It says other transport vehicles, so does that just mean the harasser? I don't know. I had no idea that they were planning on doing this to more than just Sunder and Galaxy. That's what they are going to start out with initially. I actually like this change. I'm looking forward to this. You know, anything that helps you get back to your squad and back into the fight a little bit faster is something that I think the game needs. Next, we have a couple more spawn changes. The first one is deploy on login. Players will start on the deployment screen instead of in the warp gate after login and after zoning. This reduces the player's initial time to combat and downtime when changing continents. So a little time saver there, I guess. It will be weird kind of logging in and going directly to a deployment screen rather than being in your warp gate, but whatever, not a big deal. Cross-continent reinforcements. This is very interesting. The reinforcement system allows players to spawn at active fights on their continent as long as the fight isn't too overpopulated by the player's own faction or too overpopulated in general. This system has been working well, a little too well actually, and continents will often reach a state where all active fights are considered balanced, which causes there to be no active reinforcement spawn points on the player's current continent. We want all players to still be able to quickly jump into fights when the above situation happens, so we're going to allow spawning at reinforcement points on other continents. This is interesting. I think I'm gonna like this idea. I kind of have to play around with it before I can give really too much of a real opinion on this, but I think this will be good. And then the last thing as far as spawn changes is the Sunder Advanced Mobile Station certification line is becoming passive. The AMS cert line is dominating its slot. It actually takes up 96% equip rate, it says on here. It's an important cert line for the game and we don't want to change its functionality, so we're going to make the certification line passive to the Sunder. This opens up the utility loadout slot on the Sunder, which allows player to have more varied and creative loadout combinations. All existing certs will convert over cleanly. I like this because, you know, pretty much everybody has a AMS Sunder. It's pretty much a necessity. It's one of the first things you should buy when you're playing Planetside 2. So this kind of opens that slot up to, you know, using some other things. And if this is going to allow you to have both the AMS and the gate diffuser, that could be kind of interesting. But I do like this change. I'm looking forward to playing around with my Sunder a little bit more after this change takes place. Last thing I'm going to mention is a couple things out of the odds and ends category, and both of these things I'm going to mention did get moved to February, but I think they're worth noting. The first is that weapon optics will be purchasable. We've decided to allow the purchase of weapon optics, so players who wish to pay can pay station cash to unlock them. So you will be able to buy optics with station cash once this change takes place. And then squad boost, these new XP boosts will not only give you a bonus but also a bonus to your squad mates. So both of those are pretty interesting. There's also some more stuff on here that I am not going to go over, such as a tech update, some changes to the World Domination series, you know, the Amp Station iteration, which we already talked about, and some Player Studio stuff. Like I said, I'll leave a direct link to this. You guys can check it out, and make sure you do, you know, if you have any strong opinions, like I said, make sure you go over and leave some feedback on the forums about this stuff. But anyways, that's all for the news. Just a couple quick channel related items. First of all, this is going to be a slow week. This will probably be the last video I do. I've been really busy all week, and I'm going to be busy the rest of the week. But of course, next week my layoff starts, my layoff from work, so things will pick back up and pick up in full force, probably a little bit more active than I have been currently actually, so that's going to be good. And then the last thing I want to mention is, you know, I've started the Patreon donations, and again, don't feel obligated to donate or anything like that, but what I would like from you guys is ideas on how to reward people that donate. they have to be plausible. They can't be, let them move into my house or anything like that. But I would like to reward anybody that donates in some manner. So if you guys have any good ideas for that, please let me know. And again, I'll leave a link to Patreon in the description if you guys do wish to donate any money. And again, 100% of the money that's donated will be put back into Planetside or my YouTube channel. So that's all I have, guys. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll talk to y'all later.